3 a.m. again, and your brain is not shutting down, even though your body is exhausted. Sleep science explains why this happens, but no one tells you when it matters most. You go to bed heavy, certain that sleep will come the moment you lie down. The room is quiet, your body relaxes, and your breathing begins to slow. Then something shifts inside your mind that you cannot see or control. Instead of drifting off, your thoughts begin stacking faster and louder. Rest slips further away, even though you did everything right. You finally fall asleep, unaware of how lightly your brain is resting. Hours later, your eyes open and the clock reads 3 a.m. Your heart is not racing, yet it is not fully calm either. Your mind is already moving, scanning, remembering, anticipating. There is no nightmare, no noise, and no clear reason to explain it. Only the strange clarity of being awake when you should be deeply asleep. And the more you notice it, the harder it becomes to return to rest. If this keeps happening, you start wondering what is wrong with you. You question why your brain will not shut off when you need it most. You try to fall asleep again, but your mind refuses to release control. Morning arrives, and you feel like you never truly slept. What if this is not insomnia in the way you were told to believe? What if waking at 3 a.m. is part of a hidden pattern in the brain? Stay with me, because what happens at this hour will only make sense in the next step. I'm Dr. Sarah, a sleep medicine specialist with a background in psychiatry. For years, I have worked with people who struggle with insomnia after 40. Many of them feel their brain will not shut off when night finally arrives. They wake up at 3 a.m. with a quiet alertness they cannot explain. All they want is to stay asleep all night and wake up restored. They follow every recommendation with discipline, patience, and hope. Yet the nights continue to unfold in the same exhausting pattern. I have listened to people who feel betrayed by their own minds at night. They describe racing thoughts the moment their head touches the pillow. Some fall asleep quickly, only to wake hours later fully alert. Others lie awake watching the clock, counting the minutes until morning. They begin to fear bedtime, anticipating another silent struggle. Morning arrives, and with fatigue that determination cannot overcome. Over time, they start believing the problem is somehow their fault. Most of them tried everything they were told would fix their sleep. They improved routines and reduced stimulation long before bedtime. They practiced meditation, breathing exercises, and strict sleep schedules. Some turned to teas, supplements, or medications in search of relief. Each new strategy brought hope that the next night would be different, but the pattern returned with quiet and predictable consistency, because the real cause was not where they were told to look. What makes this pattern more confusing is how normal it appears. Nothing dramatic happens, yet the brain refuses to fully power down. There is no visible threat and no clear trigger to explain the alertness. Still, the nervous system behaves as if vigilance is required. This contradiction leaves people questioning their own perception. They wonder why their body is tired while their mind stays awake. And that question is where the real investigation begins. You feel tired throughout the entire day, no matter how much you try to push through. Your energy fades early, and simple tasks begin to feel heavier than they should. You tell yourself that tonight will be different, that your body will finally recover. By evening, exhaustion settles into your muscles and behind your eyes. You look forward to bed as if it were the one place relief still exists. Everything in your body signals the need for deep and uninterrupted rest. Yet when night arrives, something subtle begins to change. Your body lies down and your breathing starts to slow naturally. The The room is quiet, and there is nothing demanding your attention. From the outside, it appears that sleep should come easily and quickly. But inside, your brain remains alert, as if waiting for something. It doesn't fully release control or allow the body to sink deeper. A quiet vigilance lingers beneath the surface of your thoughts, and that vigilance keeps true rest just out of reach. Sleep, when it comes, feels light and fragile rather than deep. Small sounds, minor shifts, or no clear reason at all can wake you. Your mind rises to the surface faster than your body can relax again. The night becomes a series of brief descents followed by sudden awakenings. Even without fully waking, your brain never reaches full restoration. Hours pass, but the quality of sleep never matches the time spent in bed, and your nervous system never fully powers down. When morning arrives, you expect at least some relief from the night. Instead, you wake with a heaviness that sleep was supposed to erase. Your thoughts feel slower, your focus weaker, and your patience thinner. You wonder how it's possible to sleep and still feel this exhausted. It feels as if the night passed without truly restoring anything. This creates a quiet confusion that builds with each passing day, because rest should not leave you feeling this depleted. This is not simply a matter of not getting enough hours of sleep. Many people in this pattern spend adequate time in bed each night. The issue is not always quantity, but the quality of what occurs during sleep. Your brain is not allowing the deeper stages that restore the body. Without those stages, the nervous system remains partially on duty, and the body wakes as tired as it was the night before, which suggests that something is interfering with the sleep process itself. This is not lack of sleep in the way most people understand it. It's sleep being blocked before it can fully restore you. Blocked not by noise, light, or obvious disruption, but by a signal inside the brain that keeps vigilance active, a signal that tells the nervous system to remain prepared. Until that signal is understood, the cycle quietly repeats, and the question becomes not whether you are sleeping, but what is blocking sleep from working. Most people believe the problem is that they cannot fall asleep. They assume their body has forgotten how to initiate rest. They blame stress, habits, or an overactive mind at night. The struggle appears to begin the moment they lie down, so they focus on trying harder to force sleep to happen. Yet effort only increases frustration and quiet tension, because the real issue begins after sleep has already started. The deeper problem is not falling asleep, but staying asleep. The brain does not feel safe enough to remain in deep rest. Even in a quiet room, it continues scanning for potential threats. This process happens below conscious awareness and beyond control. Your body may be still, but your nervous system stays prepared. It holds a subtle readiness, as if something might go wrong, and that readiness prevents the full surrender that deep sleep requires. When the brain detects possible danger, it activates brain alert mode. This can happen even when no real danger is present. The signal may come from stress patterns, hormonal timing, or past conditioning. To the brain, uncertainty is enough to justify vigilance. It chooses caution over restoration, even at the cost of exhaustion. This response is automatic and deeply rooted in survival biology, and it can activate without you ever realizing why. Brain alert mode does not feel like panic or obvious fear. It feels like subtle wakefulness that refuses to fully fade. Your thoughts remain accessible, ready to engage at any moment. Sleep becomes shallow, easily interrupted, and fragile. The nervous system hovers between rest and readiness. This state keeps you safe in theory, but restless in reality. And the longer it persists, the more normal it begins to feel. This response is not designed to harm you or punish you. It exists to protect you from perceived threats during vulnerability. Sleep is the most defenseless state the body enters each day. If the brain senses uncertainty, it limits how deeply you rest. It prioritizes survival over restoration without hesitation. From a biological standpoint, this response is logical and efficient, but in modern life, it often activates when protection is not needed. Protection, however, comes with a cost and accumulates over time. Fragmented sleep leads to mental fatigue and reduced resilience. The body loses access to the stages that repair and restore. Emotional regulation becomes harder, and focus begins to slip. You may blame yourself, unaware that biology is driving the pattern. The cycle continues because the brain believes it is helping you, and understanding why it believes that is the next piece of the puzzle. Sleep science now describes this state with a specific name. It is called the Neural Sleep Inhibition Response. This term refers to a protective pattern the brain activates at night. It is not a disorder, and it is not a personal weakness. It is a biological response designed to preserve safety during vulnerability. Most people experience its effects without ever knowing it exists, and without a name, the pattern remains invisible and misunderstood. The neural sleep inhibition response involves precise biological systems. It affects cortisol timing, which influences alertness and stress readiness. It activates the nervous system when it should be powering down. It disrupts the circadian rhythm that regulates sleep, depth, and timing. These systems are meant to work in harmony during the night, but when they fall out of sync, the brain shifts into protection mode, and protection mode prevents the full descent into restorative sleep. When this response activates, the brain blocks deep sleep stages. It keeps vigilance active beneath the surface of consciousness. It interrupts the sleep switch before it can fully lock into place. You may fall asleep, but the depth required for restoration never arrives. The nervous system remains partially alert throughout the night. This creates sleep that appears normal in duration, but not in quality, and the body wakes without the repair it was meant to receive. Because vigilance remains active, the brain becomes sensitive to timing. Subtle hormonal shifts can trigger partial awakenings. Cortisol may rise earlier than intended by the circadian rhythm. This early rise signals the body to prepare for wakefulness. The brain responds by increasing alertness at vulnerable hours. This process often occurs without conscious awareness, and it sets the stage for waking during the same window each night. This is why so many people wake up at 3 a.m. with no clear cause. The brain is not malfunctioning or randomly interrupting sleep. It is responding to internal signals that suggest caution. Even in a safe environment, the protective pattern remains active. Over time, the brain learns to repeat this timing with consistency. The experience feels mysterious because the trigger is invisible, but the pattern follows biological rules rather than chance. Understanding this response changes how the problem is viewed. It shifts the focus from forcing sleep to restoring safety signals. It explains why effort alone cannot override the pattern. The brain must perceive safety before it allows deep rest. Until that perception changes, awakenings continue to repeat. This raises an important question about why the timing centers around 3 a.m., and that question leads directly into the next piece of the explanation. Once the neural sleep inhibition response begins, the pattern quietly reinforces itself. The brain starts scanning for potential threats, even in a safe environment. This scanning happens beneath awareness, beyond conscious control. It prioritizes caution over restoration during the most vulnerable hours. The body appears relaxed, but the nervous system remains prepared. This subtle vigilance prevents the full descent into deep sleep, and the cycle begins repeating before you even notice it. As this response activates, cortisol timing begins to shift. Instead of rising closer to morning, it rises too early in the night. This early rise signals the body to prepare for wakefulness. The brain responds by increasing alertness at vulnerable hours. The nervous system responds by maintaining readiness. Sleep becomes lighter as the body prepares for possible action, and the foundation for a 3 a.m. awakening is quietly established. You may still fall asleep at the beginning of the night. The body is tired enough to initiate the first stages of rest, but the sleep switch never fully locks into deep restoration. The brain hovers between sleep and vigilance. This fragile balance makes the night easily disrupted. Even without noise or movement, the brain prepares to wake, and the protective pattern continues operating in the background. Around 3 a.m., the internal signals reach a tipping point. Cortisol rises just enough to increase alertness. The nervous system shifts from rest toward readiness. Your eyes open and your mind is already active. There is no clear reason, yet wakefulness feels immediate. The brain believes it is responding appropriately to a signal, and returning to sleep becomes unexpectedly difficult. Your mind races the moment you become aware of being awake. Thoughts about the day, the past, or the lack of sleep begin to surface. The more you try to force sleep, the more alert you feel. The nervous system interprets effort as a sign that vigilance is needed. Minutes pass, then hours, as frustration quietly grows. Morning arrives before the brain ever returns to deep rest, and the exhaustion you feel is the result of interrupted restoration. Different people experience different symptoms within this cycle. Some wake at 3 a.m. and cannot fall asleep again. Others remain asleep but never reach deep restorative stages. Some feel a racing mind, while others feel quiet but alert. The variations can make the problem seem inconsistent or random, but beneath the differences lies the same biological loop. And understanding that loop reveals why the pattern persists. After 40, natural biological changes begin to influence sleep patterns. Hormonal shifts alter how the body regulates rest and recovery. The brain becomes more sensitive to cortisol and stress signaling. Subtle circadian rhythm changes affect sleep timing and depth. These shifts are gradual and often go unnoticed at first. They are part of normal aging, not a sign of damage or decline. Yet they create conditions that make nighttime vigilance more likely. Greater sensitivity to cortisol means smaller increases feel more significant. What once passed unnoticed can now trigger partial alertness. The nervous system reacts more quickly to perceived uncertainty. This does not indicate weakness, but heightened protective awareness. The brain prioritizes safety when signals feel even slightly off. As a result, deep sleep becomes easier to interrupt, and awakenings during the night become more common. Circadian rhythm changes also influence when the body expects to wake. The internal clock may shift earlier without conscious awareness. Hormonal signals begin preparing the body for morning too soon. This early preparation increases alertness in the middle of the night. The brain interprets these signals as a reason to remain vigilant. Sleep becomes lighter during the early morning hours, and the likelihood of waking at 3 a.m. quietly increases. This does not mean something is wrong with your brain or body. It means the brain has become more protective during vulnerability. With age comes a refined ability to detect subtle internal changes. The nervous system responds by maintaining a higher level of readiness. This readiness can interrupt the deeper stages of sleep. What once felt effortless now requires a greater sense of safety, and without that safety, the brain hesitates to fully power down. This is why many people who never experienced insomnia before suddenly struggle to stay asleep all night after 40. They go to bed as usual, expecting the same restorative sleep, but the brain now evaluates nighttime conditions differently. Even small disruptions in rhythm or stress signals can trigger alertness. The experience feels sudden, but the biological shifts were gradual, and without understanding them, the pattern feels confusing and personal. This is not failure, weakness, or a loss of resilience. It is adaptation, shaped by biology and the need for protection. The brain is doing what it believes ensures safety during rest, but protective patterns can be retrained with the right signals. The nervous system can relearn when it is safe to fully release control. Deep sleep can return when safety replaces vigilance, and that possibility begins with understanding how protection became the priority. Imagine your brain as a night security system designed to protect you. Its primary role is to monitor safety while you are most vulnerable. When everything feels secure, the system powers down unnecessary alerts. Lights go off, internal noise quiets, and the body begins to restore. Doors are metaphorically locked, creating a sense of containment and safety. Deep sleep begins when the brain confirms that no vigilance is required. Restoration unfolds because protection no longer needs to stay active. When the brain feels safe, breathing slows and muscles fully release. The nervous system shifts into repair and recovery mode. Hormonal rhythms align to support deep and uninterrupted sleep. The sleep switch locks into place without resistance. Energy is restored at the cellular level throughout the night. You remain asleep without effort or awareness of the process. Morning arrives with a sense of clarity and renewed capacity. But when the brain senses danger, even if the danger is imagined, it reacts. The security system keeps its alarms armed throughout the night. Sleep becomes fragmented because vigilance never fully disengages. The body hovers between rest and readiness without true recovery. Small internal signals are treated as reasons to remain alert. The nervous system maintains a subtle state of preparation, and deep restoration is postponed in favor of protection. This does not require a real threat in the environment. Uncertainty, stress patterns, or hormonal shifts can trigger the response. The brain prefers false alarms over missed danger. From a survival perspective, caution is the safer choice. But in modern life, this caution often activates unnecessarily. The result is a night that looks like sleep, but feels like exhaustion, and the pattern repeats because the alarm never fully disarms. The neural sleep inhibition response is that invisible alarm system. It operates quietly, without dramatic symptoms or obvious signals. Most people do not realize it has been activated. They assume their sleep issues are random or self-inflicted, but the brain is following a protective script written by biology. Until the alarm is lowered, deep sleep remains out of reach, and the cycle continues without a clear explanation. Understanding this invisible alarm changes how you see the problem. It shifts the focus from forcing sleep to restoring a sense of safety. The brain does not need to be overpowered, only reassured. When safety signals return, vigilance begins to fade. The nervous system gradually releases its nighttime guard. Deep sleep becomes possible again without struggle, which raises the question of how to lower an alarm you cannot see. The solution is not forcing sleep through effort, frustration, or control. It is not sedation and not shutting the brain down artificially. True rest begins when the brain feels safe enough to release the sleep switch. Sleep cannot be commanded, only permitted by the nervous system. When safety replaces vigilance, the body allows deeper restoration. This shift happens through biology rather than willpower, and understanding this changes how the night is approached. What the brain needs is reassurance instead of suppression. It needs signals that confirm the night is safe for deep sleep. When these signals are present, vigilance softens naturally. The nervous system shifts from protection toward repair. The sleep switch locks into place without resistance. Restoration unfolds because the brain no longer perceives risk, and sleep deepens without being forced. When the neural sleep inhibition response begins to lower, changes follow. Cortisol stabilizes and aligns with the natural circadian rhythm. The nervous system releases its quiet state of alertness. Deep sleep stages return in a gradual and natural progression. The body regains access to the repair it was missing. Morning begins to feel lighter and more sustainable, and the fear of 3 a.m. awakening starts to loosen its hold. This is why many people are turning to doctor-approved natural nighttime support. These approaches are designed to complement sleep biology, not override it. They help create the conditions the brain needs to feel secure. By supporting the nervous system, they encourage natural sleep depth. They do not force unconsciousness or create artificial shutdown. Instead, they work with the body's protective mechanisms, and this alignment allows sleep to unfold more naturally. This support is not a cure and does not promise perfect nights. It is not a sedative and does not suppress brain activity. It exists to support the conditions required for sleeping through the night. Many people use it as part of a broader, healthy sleep routine. It is available in the first pinned comment for those who want to explore it. Its purpose is to help the brain feel safe enough to stay asleep, and that safety is what makes restoration possible again. If you wake up at 3 a.m. and your brain will not shut off, you are not broken. If you can't fall asleep again, your body is not failing you. Your brain is in a neural sleep inhibition response. When the right signals are restored, the brain allows sleep again. In the next video, I will explain why brain alert mode peaks between 3 and 3:30 a.m. You will see how cortisol timing silently controls whether you sleep through the night. Because once you understand that window, everything about your sleep begins to make sense.